All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Syndicate. We are here to review the latest piece of shit. Latest Transformers movie. This is Mike. Joined by
Joshua Mervell. Yeah, today we're going to be doing a real quick review of Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. This is a sequel to the Bumblebee movie and is a soft reboot for all of the Michael Bay movies. So this is not being tied into all the Michael Bay stuff, but it's a direct sequel to Bumblebee.
Right. Now, I should say quickly, because we have not done a Transformers movie review in a very long time.
Okay.
So for anyone that doesn't know, I am the world's biggest G1 Transformers fan. I still have all my toys in the boxes. I started watching the cartoon the day it came out. I started buying the comic book with number 2.
Right.
You know, we had Bob Budiansky as a guest at our Comic-Con, Action Comic-Con. So yeah, I'm a huge fan. I think the Michael Bay films are some of the biggest pieces of shit ever committed to celluloid. I think Michael Bay's the worst director since Ed Wood. But besides that, I don't really care about anything after G1, to be honest. But I will say that I thought Bumblebee was a fairly good movie.
Yeah,
surprisingly.
it's great. I really like it.
It was basically like a good 80s family film. I really liked it. I liked the lead actress.
Haley Steinfeld. She's great.
Yep, she's a good actress. I liked everything about it. Now, that being said, I went into this thinking, okay, we're going to get more of that vibe. And I don't think we got it, but I will save that for later, because Josh, first you're going to tell everybody the basic premise of this film.
Sure. So we're introduced to our main character, Noah, and he has a family that he's trying to take care of. He's got a sick brother, and he can't keep a job. So in hopes to make some money, he decides he's going to take a one-off job stealing a car, which ends up being an Autobot, Mirage. And he's then kind of like sucked into this Transformers plot where he finds a piece of a key that, when put together with the second piece, will open up a portal, allowing the Autobots that are stuck on Earth to go back to their home planet of Cybertron. Unfortunately, they're not the only ones that want this key, as there are these group of bad Transformers called Terracons, and they are trying to find this key so they can bring Unicron, the Planet Eater, to Earth to devour it and to set him free from this dimension he's trapped in, I guess. So with the help of the Maximals, a group of animal-based Transformer-like beings, they team up to kind of stop the lead Terracon Scourge from opening up this portal and saving both Earth and the future of Cybertron and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So how about this? Let's just start.
Sure.
Let's just start at the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
We're introduced to Unicron. We're introduced to is it Terrorcons or Terracons?
Terracons.
Terracons.
Or I guess it's called. It's spelled like terror, but it's pronounced like Terracons. Okay. Yeah.
So even on the even for that very basic like setup, I just thought it was really confusing, and like the camera was flying all over the place, and I'm not a fan of that at all. I mean, you've already got this fantastic set. You've already got this giant planet-eating robot. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you need to, on top of that, also be flying the camera around. And to me, it takes away from, like, I want to feel like, what's the word here? Not something tangible, but something, what's the word? Tactile.
Okay. And
it just feels like when the camera's flying around, and it just feels like, well, we're in a video game, right? There's no gravity. Right. I want the camera to be stationed somewhere so I can feel, where are they? How big is this thing? You know, there's no scale to anything. The same thing that happened with Ant-Man Quantumania. So that's the first thing. I didn't like that opening scene. What did you think of it?
That's interesting, because I think that this movie does a pretty good job, especially, and maybe it's because I'm comparing it to the Bayham of all of the other Transformers movies, but I thought that everything was pretty readable in terms of action sequences and the CGI, and they simplified the designs of the Transformers quite a bit compared to how they looked in any of the other Transformers movies, besides Bumblebee, of course, which is where kind of like that redesign started from. So the transformations were clear. Both the Autobots and Decepticons have like color to them. Like they're not just a bunch of gray pieces of metal hitting each other. I don't know. To me, at least, that was one of the highlights of this movie, is how readable and visually pleasing everything looked for a Transformers movie. For me, I could read like everything that happened in the movie visually.
Well, I guess I'm not saying it was confusing. It was more just like it didn't flow as well as it could. Let's put it that way. Okay. But okay, so let's just jump to the next bit. Then we get this really long sequence introducing the humans of the story, right? There's always going to be humans, that's fine. Anthony Ramos playing Noah. Who else do we have here? I don't even know. There's the younger brother. There's the friend.
Right. There's also
didn't like any of them.
Elena. Really? Oh, that's so interesting because I think even the human characters were fine in this one too. I mean, especially the little brother. I thought actually was a really great character and added a lot to the story. Like he was like fun and not just like an annoying little distraction from the story that we're supposed to be following.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, sure.
Well, here's the thing. Actually, yes, I do like the little brother, but why? I mean, I believe so. Anthony Ramos is Latino, and his buddy is black. Why are they criminals? Why do they have to be criminals? You know, I mean, really, I don't know. That it irked me a little bit. Not only because of the stereotype, but also because this is a Transformers movie, and to me, you know, I'm not saying it has to be Spike Witwicky, but there were just mechanics or whatever they were, oil rig workers, and now we're coming in from this different angle. I'm not saying they can't do it, but it just kind of alienated me a little bit, you know?
Interesting. Well, the other main character was a black woman, and she was a scientist.
Okay, yeah. So
like she was an archaeologist, right? So I don't know. Right. I get it. And even Noah too was like didn't end up even going through with being, but I definitely get what you're saying. I think that the human side of things was more well done character wise. I think that they are unfortunately kind of like swept along for the ride in this one. It doesn't feel like they should have, like, they don't feel like they belong as much in this movie compared to the other ones, just because of the scale of what's going on. I really liked a lot about this movie, but I think that it doesn't work as a whole. I think that bringing Unicron in as this huge threat was a mistake this early on in the reboot, because it's like it's like how are you gonna scale up from this point? You know, like how?
Great, you know what? Great point.
If you're introducing these human characters, why not make it a more human like level threat? Something that's gonna affect their city, something that's gonna affect, you know, where they are. The set pieces in Peru were beautiful, but and like seeing that visually was very nice, but it just felt strange in the story. And even the final act of the film, I thought was a really great set piece. You could understand everything that's going on. It's like an actual full length Transformers battle that felt like Transformers fighting each other. And even the Decepticons had like personalities to them and had different like abilities that came into play and were defeated in interesting ways. It wasn't just like slashing, boom, explosion everywhere. But it was just strange that it was in the middle of a field, I guess, or like on top of a volcano or something that wasn't even a volcano when they were fighting on it. It was a big open field. So I don't know. I like the characters. I like the relationship between Noah and Mirage. I thought Mirage was a very refreshing character to be introduced. into the story, especially being set in the 90s. Was a pretty fun kind of like idea to have him like a 90s punk similar to Noah in that sense, where they can kind of like connect on that level. Or I guess maybe more similar to his brother, so that way they can have that sort of like relationship, because Noah's supposed to be like Optimus is to Mirage. That's kind of their relationship, I guess. I don't know, but it almost feels like
going back to what you said about the threat of Unicron.
Yeah.
The same mistake was made in Fantastic Four. They introduced Galactus in the second film. Okay, fine, he was a cloud of smoke, but
right.
you know, it took 50 issues in the comics to get to that point. Also, the Green Lantern film with Ryan Reynolds, they introduced Parallax in the opening sequence. It's just so idiotic, you know? Like, you've got to start small and build. You know, you don't start a Star Wars movie with the Death Star in the first shot. Like, you got to reveal it, right? Like, it's just basic storytelling.
Yeah.
So in this movie, yeah, you're right. They could have had, the whole story could have been the same if it was, you know, to go back to the cartoon, they have to go to, because they went to Peru, right?
Yeah.
Right? There's actually an episode in season 1 where they go to Peru, and I can't remember why they went there, but it's always about Energon. We've got to get Energon. So they figure out, oh, we can convert energy from a waterfall. Or then another episode, it's, oh, we can convert energy from an electrical plant. It's a very small scale thing, but why can't you could make a movie about that?
Yeah.
It's just, oh, it's an electrical plant, that's it. Or it's a nuclear power plant, or whatever it may be. And then, you know, the whole movie could be the exact same if they just didn't have Unicron. You're right. And I'm also kind of sick of Unicron because I think he was used in the Michael Bay films, wasn't he?
He was hinted at, but I... Okay. Oh, no, maybe they did. Yeah, you're right. They did introduce him, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't really give a shit about the whole backstory of that they explained later of Unicron. I don't care. Again, because I'm more of a, like everything they did contradicted what was written in the original comics. The backstory created by Jim Shooter and Denny O'Neil and Bob Budiansky, it was all contradicted. So I prefer the original version, so I don't care about the whole backstory about Unicron and all that crap. There was actually a cartoon episode where they revealed that Unicron was created by a little kid alien, as almost like a spoiled little kid that could... I can't remember how they explained it, but yeah.
Weird.
So it's like, yeah, that's the canon origin for me. But anyway, okay, so forget about Unicron for a minute.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Mirage, okay? So Mirage comes on screen, and I want to puke, okay?
What?
I know you said you liked him. I have not been this annoyed by a character since 1999 when I saw Jar Jar Binks in the theater on opening night.
That is so weird.
Now, I've told this story before, but when Jar Jar Binks was on screen for opening night, I was so annoyed with him that I actually put my hand up wherever Jar Jar Binks was on the screen. I blocked him with my hand. I couldn't look at him. He was so annoying, and it almost got to that point with Mirage where I couldn't take Pete Davidson's delivery, his actions, anything. And then the thing is, I actually do like Pete Davidson. I've been watching him on SNL for years, and I thought, okay, what is this guy doing? Because I know he's funny, and I know his sense of humor. It's very like specific, and I realized, I know what he's doing. Because first of all, he's like much younger than me. I think he's like late 20s.
Yeah.
So he obviously didn't grow up with this stuff, but he's just thinking, oh, I'm in a kids movie. I'm in a Disney cartoon. I'm just gonna do a crazy CGI character and be funny. But for me, it didn't work at all. Now, part of it was his voice, but the other part of it was that I just didn't like his mannerisms, the way he moved. I didn't like almost anyone the way they moved.
Whoa.
And so it just irritated me. Yeah, like I couldn't stand watching it. But I mean, this goes back to all the Michael Bay films. Like I cannot stand the designs of any of the characters. Now you said that they've redesigned them a little bit. Bumblebee looks better than he did in the other movies, but I still don't love him. I don't like his voice, how he talks in pop culture clips. I don't like that at all. But as far as the designs of the actual characters, what I don't understand is Optimus Prime, when he's a truck, he actually looks almost the same as the old toy.
Yeah.
Right? But when he turns into Optimus Prime, the robot, he doesn't look like Optimus Prime. He still has the mouth. He still has the...
That's like an update. That's an update for all of Transformers, though. Like, I know
No, I
G1,
know.
he has the mask and there's no, like, opening, but ever since then, he's had a mouth.
I know. But to me, that's not the character. It's like, it's just not the character, you know?
Right. I don't know. I think
Um,
Optimus Prime looks really good. I think that it's a really great translation of the character in real life without over complicating the design. I think that if you look at the old Michael Bay movies, the first one even, and then look at the design from this one, you can clearly tell that they're translating the look of the toy right to the screen. Even how he transforms, his arm folds
But
into his
even the
chest,
Bumblebee
where like the
movie-
grill of the car is, like everything about it.
Sure. But you gotta understand, though, I've seen fans do, like, stop motion that looks better than this. Like, it's like you're giving credit to them for making something that any very basic 3D animator could do. To just copy the toy. You know what I mean? Like, how hard is that? You're just taking... Like, the toy is a very simple... it's like, how many movements are there? It's like arms, legs, feet, head. It's a very simple toy design. So it shouldn't be that hard for a professional animator to do that. You know what I mean? And also, why do all the Transformers, when they transform, why do their legs spin around? Like,
Because that
it's almost
usually
like every...
that's usually how it happens in the thing too.
But not
like a lot of them.
But they all... Why do they all look like they're doing... what is that? It's almost like a breakdance move. It just... I don't know. It just seems like irrelevant. And again, this is going back to the first movie in whatever year it was, 2007. They can't even get the sound effect right of them transforming. I don't know. It just seems like if you're going to do a Star Wars movie, you have the digital archive of the sound effect of the lightsaber. Let's not use it. Let's just make a new one.
Right. This is like translating it from cartoon, though, to rooted in reality. If you just do a one for one, it doesn't like...
The sound effect... But the sound effect of a robot transforming into a robot is not reality. So why would you try to root it in reality? There is no basis for it in reality.
Yeah, but you know what metal scraping against metal sounds like. So you know that if like a car part is going to be moving, it's going to sound a certain way. So if you don't change it a bit at least, it's going to be... I think it's weird if it's just the like beep boop bop bop boop boop bop, but like you need to, I think, add in more.
Well,
I like the sound design personally.
I mean, you can add in if you want to add something in, but it's kind of like Godzilla. When they did the Godzilla movie, I don't know about the first one, but the one by Gareth Edwards, they used the original roar, or at least a version of it, because like that is his roar.
Right, and the original point of the Godzilla roar was to make it terrifying and real, right? Where it's like the G1 Transformers, it was just probably some sort of stock sound that they had, or like some, like cartoony thing.
No. I've seen every cartoon that existed in the 70s and 80s. There was a lot of stock sound effects, but that was not one of them. That was created for Transformers, absolutely. So I'm just saying, like, I mean, that's the simplest thing, but okay, fine. So they don't use that. As far as the rest of them, who else was there? There was, actually, here I have the list. The cast.
Okay,
I'll admit. What's his name? Sorry, RC looked good.
Yeah, RC looked great. I thought
she was the best because A, she looked like the original cartoon. B, she looked like she could actually she was physically solid. I don't understand why all these characters they look like their chests are like they have these big cavities in them. Almost all the characters, have you noticed that?
Cavities.
They look like they have like, it's not like they're solid. It seems like there's like parts of them that are not solid in their bodies, and I don't know if that's just...
I think it's also because like the mechanics of something moving like that. Because okay, so here,
though, it's not
here,
real. So why try to make it real?
Well, I think it would look very strange because you're making so then why make a live action movie at all?
No, this is
right.
Okay, look, I actually know. Wait. I actually know how to look because I've seen the toy. When you take a toy car and you fold it around, the front like the body of the car is
Right.
solid. So why are you adding
Okay.
extra?
So with your Optimus Prime toy, try and make it bend down. Can the stomach move at all? No, it's one stick and it can't move.
But the
So
thing
you
is
need to break it. You need to break it up so it can logistically move in live action.
But they've made what are those ones called? They're like a new like a master edition where they've made new toys that mimic the cartoon. So they've made like better designed versions. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
There's like a version of, and I don't know what they're called, but everyone listening probably knows what they're called. But again, you're sitting here going, "Oh, it's possible. You can do it. You can just make it like if there's some guy out there that can design these things, why don't they just copy that? Like, or even like, okay, let me again, because going back, you know, I was the audience, right? I'm the audience for these things. So imagine this: you have a car, like say Bumblebee. Even the guys who designed the cartoons, I don't know their names. They were Japanese. There was a few of them. They actually went one step too far, and they made, and I'm talking about G1, they made the robots look a little bit too human, and they got rid of part of the appeal. Part of the appeal of the robots is supposed to be that you can see the car tire, that you can see that it's a car door, that you can see that it's a windshield. So even when they're walking around and they're talking, part of the appeal is to see actual car parts, right? So when they make the robot look too complex and you know, my brother always used to say, it just looks like a bunch of shards of metal, that defeats the appeal of the robot. So again, Optimus Prime, his entire torso should look like the front of a truck with the, what is that called? The grill with the windows, with everything. The tires should look like rubber tires. That's the appeal of the whole concept. So the only one in this movie that kind of looked okay, but actually besides there was one more, and that was Wheeljack, the one that they meet in Peru.
Oh, interesting, because I thought that he was the one that looked the most Bay-esque.
No,
his face was like full on, just like a bunch of weird little bits, and had like tons of like parts for the lips and everything.
Well, maybe his face,
to me,
but I'm talking about his body. Like if you look, I'm looking at it right now on Google. If you look at his body, again, it looked like you could touch him. He looked like a physical thing. He looked, because he can transform into a
van.
Yeah, and when he was in his robot form, he looked like he could actually turn into that van. That's why I think he was the best.
I guess. I mean, I feel like his body is broken up just as much as Bumblebee or Optimus Prime or Mirage.
Not as much.
Look at all the pieces. Like to me, it looks.
I'm trying to find a good image online. I can't. But in my mind, or from what I could see, he definitely looked the most like a classic toy. That's why I liked him. Yeah, like I'm looking at it right now. You can see the headlights on his chest. You can see the tires on his shoulders. You see that? Like not his whole body, but most of the body that I'm looking at right now, it looks like a physical thing that's come to life.
I guess so. I feel like I can say the same for Optimus though. Like his whole chest is the entire windshield. It's not broken up. It's the whole red top part of the truck. You can see the smokestacks on his shoulders, exactly like the G1. You can see his wheels on his legs. Like they've built it to look like, but what is all that stuff? The G1.
But look at his what is that called?
His pecs. It's the same thing with Mirage. What part of the
Mirage,
the
Mirage
car is from
better.
Like from underneath the hood there, like all of his like
no,
stomach
sorry, not
parts
Mirage.
going down to his crotch.
I wasn't talking about Mirage. I was talking about Wheeljack.
Yeah, look at.
I still think Wheeljack looks better though.
Okay.
Like I don't know, but okay. Then we have the Decepticons. They again look okay, but now again, they use a name of a classic character, Scourge, and they don't use the design at all. Okay,
right.
Fine. And then they used, again, I didn't research this. We don't research on this show. That's the rule. But they used Nightbird, and I'm going to assume Nightbird is a reference to the episode. You know about this? The character that they built? It was a Japanese character, a scientist that built a robot called Nightbird.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, because there was no female Decepticons, and so I'm assuming they figured out we need one, so we'll just base her on that. Yeah, so Nightbird was named after the Ninja Bot from Generation 1 cartoon with the same name. So it was kind of just like a reference to that. These characters looked okay, but I don't really know, like, what did they transform into? I don't really know.
One was the one was a tow truck, and the other one was like a
Okay.
sports car.
What was
And
Scourge?
Scourge was a big semi truck with metal
Oh,
parts. So like I think that the tow truck was really great, in particular, looking. He had like a yellow exterior, so when he transformed, you could tell it was him. His tow truck like attachment was like on his arm, so he could use it as like a mace on a chain, and he used that throughout to kind of like grab pillars and throw them around, or grab Autobots and whatnot. And then there was a scene even at the end where they have to like get around that, and they all team up to kind of destroy his wrecking arm so they can defeat him. Again, it's not like, I don't think it's brilliant by any means, but it's like at least thought out what these Decepticons look like and how they're going to interact and what the Autobots are going to do to stop them. But maybe we should jump over to the Maximals, because we haven't really talked about them yet. And they're kind of a big part of this movie, I guess.
well, okay. First, we should give a quick rundown that I'm assuming, and again, I don't know Beast Wars, but this is a Beast Wars thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess I grew out of it. I did not watch Beast Wars, but to me, I stopped being interested in G1 even by the point when they got to Pretenders. Do you know what the Pretenders are?
Yeah.
Yeah, to me it defeated the purpose again of the whole concept. The Beast Wars thing, I didn't like that either. But
Yeah, I maybe I shouldn't say this because I work for the company that made Beast Wars, but I didn't like Beast Wars growing up either, because I didn't like that they were robots that turn into animals. They're pretending to be animals, I guess, but they're also in like this. I think if I'm remembering correctly, the beginning of the thing, they're like pushed into like a portal or something, so they're all kind of just like in this world without humans. So it's not like set on Earth.
see,
And they all have different animal or insect or dinosaur forms. Like the Megatron of Beast Wars is a T-Rex, and the Optimus of Beast Wars is a gorilla. So it's like I never got it myself.
well, no, it doesn't. Okay, here's the thing. Dan. Now, I have a distinct memory of being whatever 8 years old or whatever. When I first saw the Transformers concept, my first instinct as a kid was, oh, they're from a planet where they're robots. And remember, it was robots in disguise. They're disguising themselves as human vehicles so that they can move around unseen and no one will notice them. Then I found out, oh, no, they also transformed back on Cybertron. That's kind of not what I thought it was, right? I was like, oh, okay, I guess they had different forms. Okay, fine. But then in later episodes, then they have Transformers that can turn into dinosaurs. They have Transformers that can turn into insects, but not little insects.
Big,
Gigantic
giant
insects.
ones.
So
Yeah.
again, not much of a disguise. But then, like you just said, now you have Beast Wars where they're turning into Earth animals, but in this movie at least, they're not on Earth. So how can they be the same? But okay, I'm not going to analyze it too much because then you'll go crazy.
Right. So they're from a different. They're not from Cybertron. They're
No.
like from another planet where there are animals, like robotic mechanical animals.
But
I don't know.
But they have feathers. They also have they look like animals, right?
Right.
They have fur,
yeah, they have like
kind
weird
of.
fur bits. Like in Beast Wars, when they turn into the animals, they're actually full on the animals. But in this one, they're like animal robot hybrids. So it's
Right,
strange.
right,
I don't
right.
know. I think that the Beast Wars angle was my least favorite part of this movie. It didn't need to be here at
Right.
all. Like they could have just went to Peru to find this missing piece or something. It could have been an old Autobot that was there or something that crash landed on Earth, escaping the Terracons or something.
Which is the plot of a few episodes, exactly. Right.
So it's, I don't know, that angle is weird. I think it took away from a lot of what we could have had developing the relationship between Mirage and Noah a bit more, and even the relationship between Noah and Optimus Prime, because Optimus Prime says all of his speech stuff in this movie, but doesn't act like Optimus Prime.
Okay, let's be... I almost walked out, and I never walk out of movies, but when Optimus Prime was a xenophobe, we can't trust the humans, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on? Now, granted, they kind of fix it later on, because at least they have Optimus Prime will acknowledge that, like, oh, he's nothing like I thought he would be, and I guess it's kind of like an arc. He's got to become the Optimus Prime we know.
Right. But we don't see him change.
No,
that's
I'm not
the
trying
problem.
to excuse it.
Yeah.
It's bad. Like, this is not Optimus Prime. And it's infuriating because you can take any other character and do what you want with them, but Optimus Prime is Optimus Prime. And yeah, it's like, what's the point of even having this character? It was infuriating.
Yeah. Like, maybe if they got rid of the Beast Wars angle, the opening could have been something about, like, some sort of government agency trying to track down these robots or something, so then you can kind of see them like attacking the Autobots, and that's why they go into hiding, and the whole robots in disguise angle can come into play. And if one of the Autobots gets hurt or something, then it gives Optimus a reason to not trust them. But they even acknowledge the Bumblebee movie, and he's like, I know, Bumblebee, that you met a really cool human, but I hate humans. It's like, wait, what? That was so strange.
So badly written. You know what? Okay, let's just jump to the dialogue. Like, there was, to me, a lot of cringeworthy moments like that. It wasn't as bad as the Michael Bay films, but, you know, I was sitting in a packed audience, and people were laughing at certain parts, but there was also certain jokes that I know were meant to be really funny, but just didn't land. And one of them I actually thought was kind of funny was, there was a part in the movie where there's like a car chase on the side of the mountain and everything goes slow motion. Oh, it's when the missile flies by Arcee's face. You remember that? And she mouths the words, doesn't she say like, oh shit,
or oh fuck, or something?
I think it's oh fuck. And no one laughed except me. I thought, why does no one think that's funny? It was actually pretty funny.
Right.
And there was a couple points that were funny, but overall, like, when they were all standing in that garage and they were arguing, or that warehouse, and arguing back and forth, and Mirage is doing his thing, I thought that was just irritating.
Really? I don't know why. I liked it. I really enjoyed Mirage as a character. I thought with the little development that they had with him, I think having Pete Davidson voice him and be charismatic helped at least me as an audience member be attached to him, because they don't give a lot of time with Noah and Mirage kind of developing the relationship. And it's weird that so Noah wants to destroy one of the pieces of the key, so that way Earth is saved, right? And instead of him realizing that he needs to help them by Mirage really wanting to go home or something like that, like he's gonna develop a relationship with a character who wants to go home, and he wants to destroy the key so that character can't go home. But they never have a moment where those characters realize that. He's just about to destroy it, and Optimus is like, I'm sorry, there's another way. And then he's like, oh, okay, sounds good. Like, there's no moment where there's, like, a conflict between them that is resolved or, like,
great point,
has any sort of meaning in the movie, because we've got to get back to Big Robot Monkey doing something.
Yep.
I also think they could have... So one thing that I would really would have liked to have seen in this movie was an action set piece with the human characters where I was actually scared that something bad was going to happen to them.
Sure.
Because I never once believed that they were in any real danger. because whenever something bad would happen to them, there would just be like an explosion and they would run away.
That's a good point. Yep.
And like with Bumblebee, there were scenes where the main character, Charlie, is trying to hide Bumblebee, and they're like going through the house and they're like having all this shenanigans, and like maybe you don't 100% believe something bad is going to happen to Bumblebee, but
sure.
because of the stakes that the movie has set up, you believe it, and you're kind of like nervous along the way as they're kind of like trying to hide him and, you know, sneaking around and doing all this stuff. When they're in the museum, I don't know why they didn't have those little like Decepticon minion things that were like human sized. Right. Why they didn't have scenes where they're like slowly following them and they're like actually having like scary moments. Like there's just kind of like an explosion where they jump in and then they run away and then they're like staying still for a couple of seconds and then the Decepticon jumps out and they scream and then it's done. Like there's no other action. Like they could have done a whole scene that was similar to like the raptors in the kitchen from the first Jurassic Park movie, where there's like actual suspense and you're scared for these characters that you're kind of like trying to get attached to, but instead it's just kind of like big explosion and they've got to move on because we've got to get onto a plane and get to Peru as quickly as possible.
You know, here's the thing. It's kind of like the humans being involved in the story is kind of, it's almost like the weakest link in the chain of every Transformer story because it doesn't make sense. It'd be like humans.
Besides Bumblebee, yeah,
you're right, exactly. Even going back to the old cartoons and the old comics, it's almost like you really have to dig deep to figure out a way to do it. Actually, to be fair, the old comics did do it.
What are you talking about? You've seen the episode, The Girl Who Fell in Love with Power Glide?
Yeah.
Come on, Mike.
Exactly. But like, yeah. So, okay, I can accept that you kind of just have to suspend disbelief a little bit. And I appreciate that they were trying to give the humans something to do in this by saying like, we can't do that, we have to do this. So at least there's a reason for them to be there. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's almost like that's the hardest part of the story to write. So I'm not saying I forgive them for that, but that's like the least of their worries. You know what I mean? And
it's so strange that feels like it's the hardest part of the story for them to write because it should be the easiest part. Like your entry into this as a writer and as an audience member are the human characters, right? So you think that maybe you could make them the most relatable and find a good way to tie them into the story in a good way, but and at the beginning I really thought it was going into a great direction, setting up Noah as like being in kind of a poor family, struggling with his sick brother. He's trying to hold a job, like all of that feels very real and interesting. And then all of a sudden it's like this huge end of the world plot, and then I mean, I don't know if we even said spoilers at the beginning, but spoilers, he's a G.I. Joe now by the end of the movie. I'm just like, okay, what? So That's crazy.
Let's just talk about that. I that did nothing for me at all.
It felt very out of place.
Well, yes, and I'll tell you why. Because the Marvel universe was designed as a universe. Now everyone wants to imitate that. Okay, fine, but again, G.I. Joe is basically like the SEALs or whatever they're called. There's like an actual army there's a real life version of G.I. Joe, and I like special
maybe
forces,
Navy SEAls or something,
whatever
like
they're called. But it's like that's all they are. They're just an extra special little team of soldiers. By introducing Transformers into that, now what are they? Now they're gonna hunt Decepticons and blah blah blah. Doesn't interest me one bit. You know, like
there are some good stories like that already, though. Like in the comics, they're already in the same universe and they team up all the time.
I know it's been that way for decades. I'm just saying it just doesn't interest me. Like again, it's like you get to the end of Eternals and the Black Knight's gonna be in the next. Don't care. Black Knight's a cool character. Eternals is cool, but the two do not go together, right? Like imagine you got to the end of a vampire film and they introduced Billy the Kid. So what? Billy the Kid is in westerns and Dracula's in vampire stories. It just doesn't go together, and I don't like that. But that's a whole other thing. We just spoiled the ending, but that's the ending. What was the other ending, the post-credit sequence? It was crap.
Oh, they bring back Mirage.
Wow. Okay, so anyway,
that's another thing that's like just awful about this movie is Bumblebee dies early on in the movie, and they kind of are like wishy-washy if he's dead. They won't just tell us like, oh, he died, or oh, this happened. Like they're like, well, he might be dead, but there might be a way to bring him back if he's got enough energon in him. But we've got lots of energon here, but not enough, I guess. And the only way to bring him back is to go to Cybertron, which I guess raises the stakes for them getting the key and Noah ending up wanting to change his mind and help the Autobots. But I never believe that Bumblebee's gonna die or not come back. No. Him ending up like coming back to life because the portal opened, I guess, because Unicron was there. Like they didn't even give a reason as to why Bumblebee came back at the end of the movie, but he was alive again. And then Mirage dying was a bit confusing as well. Because, okay, so throughout the movie, we see that Mirage is able to give Noah a piece of his robot body to kind of like use as a flashlight or a little weapon or something. It's kind of an interesting idea. And we see that throughout the Transformers universe where the human characters use like Transformers like endoskeleton type suits that they can kind of transform into like mini cars and transform into like Iron Man suits. So I thought that was a pretty fun idea and a way to bring the human characters into the final battle in a new interesting way. But at the end, Mirage is fighting Scourge by himself and sacrifices himself to save Noah. And then Noah ends up using Mirage kind of like gives Noah his entire body to give Noah a whole suit rather than just like an arm Iron Man blaster. And at the end of the movie, in the post-credit scene, he uses that robot suit to bring back Mirage in some weird way. I'm not sure how that works, but I don't know. It just didn't make any sense that they were able to bring him back. Maybe if they could have like made Mirage a Jarvis-like voice in Noah's head or something in the suit, so that way you know that he's not like dead. But like, how does rebuilding the Porsche and using the little bits that he's got in the suit bring back Mirage? I don't know. It was just whatever.
Well, yeah. Okay, so again, we usually don't do research, but I did a little bit. I was trying to figure out, first of all, why did they use Mirage? And I think I found out why. So apparently, Mirage was obviously in the cartoons. He was in the comics. The one thing that made him stand out in the cartoons was that as Bob Budiansky wrote his little file card there, he was the Autobot who was the least convinced of their cause, and so the first one to be suspicious of if there was a traitor. And they play that up in episode 3 of the original cartoon. He disappears from the group. He ends up on the Decepticon ship, and so you think for a brief moment, oh no, he's going to betray them, but he doesn't. Now, apparently, I just learned this, that when they were selling the toys in 1984, there was different price points. There was the little mini cars, right? There would have been the big ones like Soundwave and Megatron and Optimus. And then the jets were one. And then the cars were one. Like the regular size cars like Jazz and Blue Streak and Prowl. So apparently there were not 12 of them. There were 11. So it was an odd number. So to fill in the boxes, what they would do is they would have 11 plus Mirage. And then the other 11 plus Mirage. So Mirage was sold twice as many times as all the other figures. Yeah. So technically, he out of that group, he might have been the most
popular toy.
Yeah,
wow.
Maybe not the most popular, but he was the most. He was there. People,
right?
Maybe he was the most available. Put it that way. And then I found out something weird a few years ago. Halfway through 1984, or through whatever season, they replaced Mirage with Skids, who I always associated Skids with Year 2, 1985. because he was only introduced in season 2 of the cartoon, but apparently he was introduced halfway through the first year because of that reason, which is just an odd little fact. But anyway, so here's my first question about, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about the characters in this movie. They didn't even get the car right. Mirage does not turn into a Porsche. Jazz turns into a Porsche.
Right.
So why can't
he does turn into like a Ferrari at one point.
Yeah, I know, but why
like a little bit, but yeah.
Why can't they just get the car right? Like, I can understand, they don't have the rights, but they do. They could have made him a different race car, you know? Like, it just drives me bonkers. Even Bumblebee, I know it's not a Volkswagen, but they could have made it look like something like a Volkswagen, like one of these Kias or something, like a mini car, right? Like, it just drives me crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mind the car switch up every once in a while, like, a Porsche is still a fast sports car. Like, it's like, I don't know. To me, I don't care, but I don't know. I'm assuming they didn't want to bring Jazz in to tie it in with the original Transformers 2007.
Was he in that one?
Yeah, he's the one that died.
Okay, maybe that's why.
Like, he turned into like a solstice or something, or yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, I don't know. I don't mind them changing the looks, what exact car they turn into, unless it's something like super iconic, like Optimus. I don't know. It's like, I'm not gonna, like, Wheeljack was a Volkswagen van, but he's also a Ferrari, isn't he? Isn't he like he's a race car?
Yeah. Well, hey, that was wrong too. You're not gonna argue with me about that. Yeah, I know they were all wrong.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
You're gonna have Blaster and Soundwave be boom boxes.
That becomes
and then or Megatron is a gun. Like, of course they're gonna change it.
I actually think Megatron should be a gun, to be honest.
It's so, but then they're not transforming; they're like morphing or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's
no, I know, but I especially in this day and age, I think making Megatron a gun is the most relevant thing to make the leader of the bad guys a gun, right? And I think that's great.
I think that you can translate it in an interesting way that has the same message, like turn him into a tank. So it's like full on like a military vehicle that is just for like known for shooting. You know what I mean? Like they can
let's be clear. Like, these toys were cobbled together from 3 different toy companies, and Marvel had to make up a backstory to make it all make sense. So you're right. It doesn't make perfect sense. Like, why is the leader of the Decepticons turning into something that's this big?
That his henchman has to shoot.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Like, Starscream has to shoot him in order for him to be effective. You're right. It doesn't really make much sense. But so you're right. Like, objectively, he should be a tank. I'll give you that. I'm just saying. I don't know. That's a whole other thing. So I guess we've covered almost everything we can.
Yeah.
I'll just say that, as I said, I am a fan of the Bumblebee film. But you know what's funny? Because this is almost like a Star Wars debate of, you know, someone who loves Star Wars but hates all the newer movies. I do love Transformers, but when I look back on it, I love season 1, season 2, sort of season 3 and 4. The comic books, I only like it while Bob Budiansky was writing it. I think he left with issue 55. I did not care for Simon Furman's writing. I don't like most of the UK comics other than the Man of Iron. I don't care about any of the post-Marvel comics like IDW. Don't care about any of that stuff. Any of the cartoons I've tried to watch, don't enjoy them. I hate all the movies except Bumblebee. God. I just hate them. I think they're terrible.
I think maybe you just don't like Transformers.
No. Let's be. Come on. Let's not be rude.
Well, I mean, it's the
anyway.
same. Like, I don't know. It's like you don't like what Transformers is now.
No, not at all.
Because I think it's the same argument you can make for, like you were saying with Star Wars. It's like, although you like the original trilogy, but then everything else after that is awful. Like,
I mean, and to be fair, I do love a lot of the Disney Star Wars stuff. I do. But if someone were to argue that only the original trilogy is good, I kind of have to say, you're kind of right, you know. But that's a whole separate argument. Let's just wrap this up by saying,
sure.
What would you give? First of all, I give the Michael Bay films between 1 and 3 out of 10. All of them. They're all garbage. Bumblebee, I think, is a good kids film, so I give it like a 6 or 7 out of 10. It's a good, a good film. I like it. What would you give this out of 10?
I think I would give Bumblebee like a 7.5, 8 for me. Like, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, maybe if I watched it again, maybe.
I think that this one is just fine. Like, I think that it's like 5.5, 6 for me. I think it's all right. I think that it's on the same level for a lot of the MCU for me.
Ooh.
Like, is this worse than Quantumania? No. This is better than Quantumania. This is better than Black Widow. This is better than a lot of what the MCU.
But Black Widow
has been putting out.
Florence Pugh, so.
Sure, this has got Bumblebee. This has got the actor who plays Noah. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I think it's just fine. I think that it's pretty surface level enjoyable for general audiences. It gives me hope that they can write a good Transformers movie, seeing how great the visuals are and the readable the characters are. I really like the designs of these robots and don't like the designs of what they look like before in the base stuff. So for me, it works on that level. So it's like, a 6, 5, 6. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend go out of my way to tell anybody to go watch this movie, especially with things like Across the Spider-Verse in theaters right now. You know what I mean? Like, I would watch that again before going to see this for the first time. It's like, knowing what I know now, I would rather pay the ticket again to go see that. But it's fine. I know that's pretty whatever. It's on par with most action movies today, I think.
I can say I would give it, I would say a 4, maybe a 3 out of 10. I really didn't enjoy anything about it, and I honestly don't think it's much better than any of the Michael Bay films. I definitely can't recommend it. And Spider-Verse is a much better film, and even The Flash is a better film than this. I think absolutely The Flash is better.
I haven't seen The Flash yet, but
yeah. But then again, I was the guy that thought that Star Trek Into Darkness would obviously make more money than Iron Man 2, so what the hell do I know? Anyway, so there you go. Okay, so that wraps up our Transformers Rise of the Beast review. If things go according to plan, we will also be reviewing The Flash, and we'll be reviewing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and we'll have a few surprises coming this summer, so keep your eyes peeled. Coming up on Slam, we're going to be doing The Spectre. Coming up on Tape Crusaders, we're going to be reviewing none other than Superman 1 from 1978. And I want to thank you for joining me, Josh, and you can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening to all of our stuff. Let us know what you guys think about Transformers Rise of the Beasts in the comments below. You can find all of our stuff on our website at thecomicbooksyndicate.com. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube at the same name. Let us know what you guys think about the stuff we're talking about, and let's keep that comics conversation going.
That's right. So until the next time, see you later.